Do you live in a world filled with corporate data? Are you plagued by siloed departments? Are your lackluster growth strategies demolishing your chances for success? Are you held captive by the evil menace, Lord Lack? Lack of time, lack of strategy, and lack of the most important and powerful tool in your superhero tool belt, knowledge. Never fear, HubHeroes. Get ready to don your cape and mask, move into action, and become the Hub Hero your organization needs. Tune in each week to join the League of Extraordinary Inbound Heroes as we help you educate, empower, and execute. HubHeroes, it's time to unite and activate your powers.
All right, Liz. First of all, before you get into why we're here today and what we're going to talk about, I just want everybody who is maybe watching this on LinkedIn to know that the chat pane is being paid attention to. If you have an item or an idea, make sure you hit that because we are definitely watching the chat as we move forward. So, Liz, what the heck are we doing here today?
Well, apparently I left you jokers unattended last week. And you ended up having an absolutely incredible conversation, but it was so incredible that it required a part 2. So, George, I actually want to ask you guys, bring our audience up to date if this is their first episode, particularly since it's the first time we're going live on LinkedIn. Yeah. What the heck happened in my absence? What were you guys doing?
Well, I mean, we were having a good conversation. And by the way, you should go back and go to the HubHeroes podcast and listen to that conversation. But then when we kind of were tiptoeing around the things we wish could happen. We wanted to be able to do the kind of magic wand moments that we could foresee in the future. And we all agreed, hey, we should do an episode on that. Like listen, we know historically that HubSpot loves ideas.hubspot.com. We know historically that HubSpot loves to listen to the humans that use HubSpot. And so why not give them a whole episode of things that they could be like,
So let me get this straight. You had a whole episode that was dedicated to the idea of, hey, there's been a lot of big changes to HubSpot recently, a lot of new bells and whistles added. So let's go back to basics and talk about what the basics, the fundamentals of HubSpot and inbound that you need to pay attention to. And you still ended up tiptoeing around. But what if we had more?
Yes. We need help. We need help.
Not satisfied.
Not satisfied, Maximus? Why aren't you satisfied this morning?
Because I'm not. I ain't never going to be not satisfied.
Oh, geez.
I ain't never going to stop being unsatisfied.
I go back to we need help.
Well, gentlemen,
I'm never going to stop.
The only help I can offer is the ability to purge all of these ideas from your brain and into the general populace. Does that work for you all today?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Each of us has come to the table today with a wish list of things and stuff and abilities that we wish we had within HubSpot.
Yeah, it's some of us more than others. Let's just throw that out there real quick. Good God, Max.
It feels like an attack.
Max, are you unwell?
No, I'm not attacking, but I was looking for my beat button because I felt like I should swear when I looked at your list. But anyway.
I was swearing when I was building it.
Max, do you want to kick us off since we have about a Homer's Odyssey worth of stuff to get through with you in this episode?
Yeah, I mean, where do you want me to start?
I don't know. I'm scared looking at this list. The instructions were 2 to 3, my guy, and we have 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You say quick actions a lot. Can we start there?
To be fair, hold on.
You say quick actions. Like, walk us through that.
I just want to point out, nowhere in the instructions did it say 2 to 3 on that document. So
also, can we talk about the fact, like, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, and our viewers at home cannot see this part, but I'll share it. This is not so much an assignment that you completed for this podcast. This is a note you began on October 15th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m.
Correct.
This is a list of grievances that has been growing for some time.
Yes. Well, I mean, this was my wish list. This is just, I mean, a lot of these, a lot of these are just, like little things, just like little nice things that I think would be cute. in order to have.
Little nice things you think would take us through your cute list.
Yeah.
Or one or two, and then
sure.
We'll bounce back.
Well, George, let's hit what George said. George, you said I mentioned quick actions.
Yeah, you mentioned quick actions like in 2, if not 3 of like these. Talk us through. Yeah.
Well, so do you remember how they created those quick action record cards that go in the middle panel? Do you know what I refer to?
Yeah, I do. And Chad has even given you like a finger in the air, like a good finger, by the way.
So they have, they have a lot of
voice is shot today. So
you're dying, Chad.
Too much Giga, not enough Chad.
I mean, I also probably need to like look at them, but like there's a couple ones in there that are just like kind of goofy, right? And like I think there's a really big opportunity to add some like super cool stuff in there. So like, for example, they have a quick action button in a middle panel card that just says like go to a URL or like go to a page, right? Yeah. But it's possibly the most pointless button in the entire world because it doesn't let you customize that URL per record at all, right? So like it's literally just it's you know what it is? It's literally worse than a bookmark in Chrome. Like it's not like there, if it's just always going to the same place, why have it on a record, right? Like usually you have things on a record because it's unique to that record, right? So what I would love to see is the ability to create those quick action cards that go to links, right? But those links come from properties you're storing on the record, right? So like, let's say for example,
partially from properties, or
partially. Correct. Right. Let's say, for example, you've got some outside system that your team still needs to rely on. Right. And you've got some information or maybe like a link to, a record for that record in that other system. It would be amazing if we could say, hey, when you build this quick action button in a middle panel, pull the URL from this other property that's storing, this unique URL for this specific record in that other system, right? I would love to see that. So that would be super cool. What was the other one? Quick action middle card button to manual. Oh yeah, dude, let me throw an object through a specific workflow through one of those quick action cards, right? Like, I just think there's so many more dynamic things that they could do because like when it launched, what is it? Oh, is it just like a big version of the same thing you see on the top left-hand corner of a record, right? So it's, I don't know. There's a lot that can be done there. And yes, maybe they were just like laying the foundation for some really cool things to come, right? But, every time I go and try to set that up in its current state, I'm like, this adds zero value whatsoever. Like, because there's just, nothing like really cool that I can do with it.
Yeah, I like, Chad, that you said it's been there for a while, which... For anybody who's been in the HubSpot ecosystem, it's easy to think about like, oh, when something's sat there for a while, does that mean it's done? And of course, I
HubSpot projects, anyone?
I know. I sadly say HubSpot projects to this, like it's been there forever, but nothing's happening.
Why do we have to agitate so early, Chad? Why do we have to say these things out loud?
It's in the nav.
Yeah, it's in the nav, but
next to Academy.
Yeah, come on, ladies and gentlemen. Oof. So hopefully, Max, I would love to see them do this. Anything that you can do to make it more dynamic based on records is amazing.
I think that, but I also think like, let third-party app developers build quick action buttons that work inside those cards. Like, I think that'd be cool.
With UI extensions, you can do that now, I think, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you could build totally separate UI extensions. What I'm saying is like, what if they could build buttons that someone could put into one of those like standard quick action cards?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think that somebody like Event Happily would have a reason to have a quick action like that?
Yeah, probably. Sorry, my family's calling me. Give me 1 second. I gotta go on mute.
All right. Well then, Liz, what about you, Liz? You actually had a couple items on this list. Why don't you talk through one of yours before we baton it to the next?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing for me, and it was so funny when I was sitting down and thinking about what are my wish list items for what I wish HubSpot would do, I found myself not actually asking for anything wholly new. Although, George, some of the items on your list I found very, very intriguing. But when I think about my role as a content strategist, because that's really what I do, right? Content strategy, content creation, I'm really happy for the most part with a lot of the tools and how they exist. The biggest gap for me and the biggest wish list item for me, quite frankly, is the education in HubSpot Academy continues to be lacking in the content area. We have a lot of great content and certifications around picking the right topics, around distribution, around all of these things. But let's be honest, the part of content creation and content strategy and content overall that continues to be the hardest is the actual creating of the content. When you have in hand the topic you need to make into a reality, people still don't know how to do it. Content creation still hurts. Even with AI tools, we're not teaching them the basic formulas, the basic, simple, best practices, right? That go into content creation. And this isn't something where I'm necessarily pointing fingers just at HubSpot alone. It's something you and I have talked about, George, extensively. And when I say you and I have talked about, you have politely nodded while I've just gone completely unhinged with my ranting. But this is a problem that I've noticed in the industry overall since the beginning. There is this thing that we don't talk about, and that's creating content. The actual physical act of somebody gives you a topic and they tell you to create a piece of content from it hurts. Either people don't understand the process or they feel really insecure about it, even if they are a decades-long expert in the topic. Like, there is just nobody talks around it. And then we just hope people's education that they paid attention to maybe in like middle school, high school, maybe college is going to carry them through.
Oh God, that was
It's
so
just,
long ago.
it doesn't have to hurt so much. So my biggest wish list item, and HubSpot, I hope you're listening and I would happy to be a part of it, is talk more about the physical act of creating content, because just throwing more generative tools into the mix is actually making it more challenging. Those tools become powerful when you understand how to plug a strategy in, when you understand how to tell a story, when you understand all of those things. But that's my biggest wish list item. Like,
I love it.
HubSpot Academy is an incredible resource of education. And I have been in this industry now for about 10 years. And that continues to be the spot where I'm like, am I just alone in the darkness banging a pan asking for this? Does nobody else want this?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and pray that the LinkedIn algorithms deliver this at the doorstep. Courtney Sembler, meet Liz Moorhead.
Hi, Courtney.
Liz Moorhead, meet Courtney Sembler. Like, hi, can we do something? Can we create something? I would love to see that. Anything that we can do to make things that are hard easier, like, it to me is just a win-win situation here. And so I'm going to actually piggyback off of what you kind of were talking about there, Liz, because when I think about what's difficult right now, we have an ecosystem that hopefully we understand. It's about being human centric, value first, right? Type of scenario here. You're creating content. You're a believer in inbound. You want to create courses. You want to do these things. You want to build a community, but dang on it if it ain't hard. You got to fly over to something like Circle. You got to fly over to something like Mighty Networks. And then all of a sudden the conversation becomes that you got to integrate Zapier because you definitely want deals to be there. And well, where should payments happen? Should they happen over on Circle or Mighty Network? Should they happen through HubSpot payments? And dang on it just becomes convoluted and becomes a mess. And what I would love to see is where we could just have like a Circle or a Mighty Networks natively inside of our HubSpot content hub, the CMS, whatever portion you want to put it into, but being able to literally fire up. And again, you can use different spaces. You know, maybe it's hubs and sprockets instead of like spaces and whatever they use in those platforms, right? But this ability to easily fire up 7-lesson course with a quiz that then delivers a certification when you're done. That's, automatically behind the like membership area where people can sign up. And there's actually like a native chat community feature where, like, first of all, HubSpot, you yourself could dramatically change the HubSpot community ecosystem by having your own Mighty Network Circle scenario for like what you're trying to do, let alone if we as customers had this ability to be community focused, easily do live events behind the paywall, easily do courses behind the paywall, easily enable conversations inside of a community. And why? Dang gone. Because it's on top of a CRM. Dang gone. Because it would have the ability to do smart content. Dang gone. Because you could fire workflows based off of things that they actually did in your community natively. Okay, I'll get off my pedestal.
It also allows you to more easily integrate a lot of the content that you're creating, right?
Oh,
Like you and I have done a ton of experimentation with membership-based community networks. And the challenge has always been is that it's a walled garden. It exists on an island, completely disconnected from the rest of the digital ecosystem of your brand. Now, I could also see a world in which, you know, that's a very exciting hub, but it's to me, and maybe I'm thinking about this incorrectly, it would be like the first type of product hub, right? Where the hub is the product you're actually giving to your customers. And that's exciting, but that is also very big uncharted territory. But that was the thing on your list that jumped out at me of, yes, make it easier.
They launched that, I might die and go to heaven. I'm just saying. I'm like,
we need you alive, so don't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Chad, I know you are here struggle busting with us today, right, guys? So everybody, Let's clear some room for our soft-spoken wizard. Tell me what you've got on your list, bud.
Yeah, well, I apologize. I've just been coughing all weekend. Totally fine, but throat hurts.
No, you're not.
Yeah. Well, you know, totally fine outside of sounding like
loving Max. Leave him alone.
It's okay. I'm still enjoying myself. Apologies. Next time we're live, I'll sound better. I promise. But anyway, I think piggybacking off of what George was saying, just to like expand on that for a second. One thing I really enjoyed was the thought of how that could tie into onboarding, training, and a customer success workspace. Because what if your product that you're selling needs that level of integration and understanding of how far somebody's gotten through your training content? A knowledge base isn't great for that. You can see if somebody's hit a page, and if you're using certain video sharing services, you can see if somebody's watched a video. But creating some sort of course content that's a little more advanced like that would be amazing, to be able to automatically let somebody into one of those like sprockets or whatever to allow them to start using some of those functions. That'd be amazing. That'd be like such a great thing for customer success, right?
Learn Hub.
And dude, it would revolutionize our super admin training in the way that we do that. And oh my God. Anyway, I'll shut up because it's your turn.
Yeah. For me, I think one thing that would be, you know, that I won't have to talk a ton about, and we'll see if we get back to some of my other ones, but is like, and I noticed this on Max's list too, but it's different. Mine was the ability to basically autofill parts of payment links, like Commerce Hub, right? So basically you can't inject a discount code with a query parameter or anything like that. They have to manually type it in. If I'm not mistaken, and to be able to pre-fill contact info if you know who you're sending a payment link to, right? And like maybe that computer's not cookied, but you know who you're sending it to, so you can pre-fill it with URL parameters, right? And you know, I think Max's was an extension of that, but it'd be amazing if you could do some additional functionality with payment links, especially now that they're getting better tied into the Commerce Hub ecosystem. And for me, at least as partners, I would love for them to be able to unlock some of the restrictions surrounding Commerce Hub, at least in some way that we can build some sort of a proof of concept of what we need for customers if we're selling something that's repetitive or that we build over and over. Like our industry, we sell the same thing to many customers. We have a templated build on HubSpot. And so I'd love to be able to like build something with no restrictions to like some of the Commerce Hub stuff, like not being able to write payments or have payment custom objects or custom properties or different things, because we have to have custom objects that represent payments in the accounting software, because we can't add custom properties to the payments object. So we have two different types of payments, and it's a whole thing. It's like confusing for the customer.
Well, subscriptions just got it right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
could imagine
custom
payments
properties,
is
yep.
coming pretty close.
I imagine they are.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to see a lot of that with, the acquisition of cash flow and everything, because that's really what was in it for them, was that big, beautiful, subscription billing engine, right? And so you're probably
I've heard
see
rumblings over there about the acquisition, and some, I've talked to some people over in Commerce Hub, and there's been some very exciting things on the roadmap.
Commerce Hub's getting that big boosty, you know what I mean?
It's not on my list, but I should have put it on the list of like, I would love, because by the way, I got a text maybe 2 days ago from a buddy of mine, and the text went something along the lines of, hey, do you know somebody who is a Commerce Hub ninja, like a WooCommerce or Shopify? Like, imagine, like, we already have a Commerce Hub, but imagine if it was more like you could literally build a storefront. And again, native, like you don't, now all of a sudden you're like, I don't care if there's a Shopify integration because I'm going to use HubSpot's XYZ, whatever you call it. And you could literally do like t-shirt sizes and colors and all of the commerce things. But again, now take that and pair it with community and CRM and everything that we've talked. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, it'd literally be the business center of business operations for everything you do. You'd be like, if you were like a YouTuber, you could use it for literally your whole thing, even though that's like B2C, right?
You guys think, like, I don't know how, I don't know how much I believe this.
Uh-oh.
But do you guys think
live
that, like,
on LinkedIn?
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, do you feel like HubSpot would be moving closer and closer and closer to have some sort of like lightweight Shopify alternative type deal?
I hope so.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'll even step for. I pray so.
Really?
Yeah, bro. I'd use it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
in a heartbeat.
Like an e-commerce, like a true e-commerce. Like, here are my wares that I sell, and like you can pick it out in shopping cart.
Where would Max be selling his hats from?
Based, true. Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be interesting. Like, I think it's obvious that they're really trying to like nail down the B2B, commerce side of things. And, they're really going to get like, the next thing you're going to see them do is get really, really, really good at being that sort of like Stripe alternative for SaaS companies, right? Where like, they can build subscriptions in through the APIs and, do all that kind of stuff, right? And like really connect like their app and their billing into like HubSpot's backend system. Because, that's really kind of where they still sort of like lack in terms of how they kind of, service SaaS companies, is like all those people are still building on Stripe, right? I think that's going to be really interesting to see.
Couple things. One, chat pain is actually happening over here on LinkedIn Live. So if you're listening, by the way, to the podcast on the podcast stream after the live, just know that you could be joining us on Monday, LinkedIn Live, 9 a.m. Eastern. But also, I want to shout out to Maddie Jolly. I hope I said your last name correctly. She'd love to have the ability to create custom activities and custom task types. True. I love that. I also want to give a shout out.
Task-based workflows are a thing. That's cool.
Yeah. Trent Little. Yes. Sometimes you want to get Chad going and sometimes you don't want to get Chad going. It just depends on the topic. So we'll throw it out.
Trying to get Chad going.
Liz, who should
keep moving
next?
Is it back to me?
Yeah, it is.
It is back to me.
And your list of grievances.
Yeah.
Which you still have plenty of, by the way.
I mean, I'll hit this first one here. It's like, dude, we need some like more. I think it's time that dashboards gets a little bit more visual tools to make sense of the data that someone's seeing, right? Like, think about like all you can do is just dump report after report after report after report onto a dashboard, right? Like, I would love to see something as simple as like a thin dividing line between, the bricks in which make up your canvas that you can put your reports, so I can at least like break things into sections visually, right? Imagine if you could like collapse sections and like name them and like not have to just stuff everything in a rich text module, which takes up a slot for a report. Like,
I need half a brick. I need
Yeah.
a half a brick to be able to put titles.
Yeah, let me half
things
brick it.
along the
Exactly.
way.
That's what I'm talking about, like a thin divider line or something like that. Like I just think we need some more visual tools there to help us like organize and make sense of the data instead of it just being like a slew of reports or rich text modules and it being super ugly, right? Like if you think about it, like that tool hasn't fundamentally changed in a really long time from what it feels like, right? Maybe without, barring some changes to like the limits of how many reports you can have in dashboards and stuff like that. But it's like, give us some visual tools, I
can't believe you called data ugly. Bro, data is beautiful.
I make some ugly ass dashboards and that's 100%.
The data inside them is beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, that one's boring. The other thing that I think is like more of like a tool wide issue. I would love to see like exclusionary filters for association labels. Right. So when I say that, I'm thinking of situations where it's like, especially in workflows where you want to be like, hey, send an email to contacts with this association label. Right. But sometimes I want to send emails to contacts without a certain association label. Right. And so I'd love to see them like, anytime you see association labels get used as filtering, right, you can never use them as like an exclusion like criteria. Right. Which, it causes us to do a lot of weird stuff in Event Happily. Like it forces us to have like a did not attend label versus a, attended label. Cause like we can't just be like, send an email to everyone that attended and then send an email to everyone who doesn't have the label that they attended. We have to go, no, send an email exclusively to people that have the did not attend label. So then we got to think about, how do we, do like did not attend? And we have to like build all these features around that just to get this like stupid label. Whereas like we can skip all that if, we had the ability to just, exclude the labels or whatever. Right. So I would love to see
API overhead and stuff too, right?
Exactly.
You have to make calls to apply all those labels rather than just being able to.
100%. Yeah. So I'd love to be able to exclude association labels on email send actions and workflows specifically. But yeah.
I love
and also give us custom object webhooks for public apps. Please.
You just had to slip
Please. Sorry.
All right. Are we ready to come back into Content Station for a moment?
Yeah. Choo choo.
I had this one as last on my list for this week, but I need to just get this out now.
Oh.
I have a complicated relationship with the SEO tool. I have an extremely complicated relationship with that tool. In that, when it was first rolled out, it was a topic cluster development tool.
Yep.
And it was called the content strategy tool. And I didn't totally love it, but it made me excited because I was like, finally, they are emphasizing the fact that if you are creating content, there needs to be a strategy behind it. And it looked like the promise of something where, like, how we talked a lot about the tools that we've been seeing roll out across the hubs. Like, this is just the beginning. This is quote unquote the worst it will ever be. This SEO tool, the only way it has become more dimensionalized is to add SEO recommendations you were getting elsewhere within the tool in a more centralized location and recommended topics. And I just pulled up recommended topics within the HubSpot SEO tool. And the first recommended topic is life.
That's deep.
Life.
Wow.
With a monthly search volume of 165,000 and a difficulty of 100.
Yeah.
So, I'm sitting here going,
hold on,
first
Liz,
of all.
You know why I did that, right?
Why?
It's challenging you because it knows
It's challenging me. I don't need to be challenged. I don't need to be challenged.
It's going. Listen, Liz is so good at creating content. Let's just give her like a super difficult keyword with a hella generic prompt. All right,
give
Liz,
me a persona in 5 hours.
We just challenge you to say, what's it? Write content. What's the meaning of life? Yeah.
Say yes to staying in more.
I think Breeze is doing something big back there. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's my issue with it is that it doesn't really strategically do anything.
I'm sorry. Does someone have a dying koala bear in the background? What was that? I
have no idea. What are you talking about?
Wait. Whose cat was that? Whose animal was that?
Not mine.
It's a.
Oh, Chad.
No, it's not Chad. It was me.
Oh. Okay.
That was-
Let me get my grievance out and then we can go back to all of your fun custom webhook things. Okay. What I would like to see, because this is about a wish list episode, right? Is I would like to see the SEO tool actually become something. Because, for example, I asked a few friends who also are more in the content sphere like I am, do you even use the SEO tool within HubSpot to find topics? And the answer is no. All of us have something like SEMrush or Ahrefs, something where the data is much more validated, deep, and it allows us to go into much more intentional choices in terms of how we build a content strategy. So the value for me is really not there for that. I like that you can track topic clusters, but the fact that they've been so de-emphasized in terms of how we're talking about content strategies, we either have an education gap or we have a tool development app, but nobody has the heart to get rid of it. I think there is clearly a gap within the HubSpot Marketing Hub for some sort of content strategy development and tracking tool. And to all of you out there who think, this is me talking to all of you, who think your editorial calendar is a content strategy, no. So that's my wish list item. Like, figure out whatever identity crisis is happening within the SEO tool and sit down and have a considered conversation, maybe with some content strategists, about what are the tools we actually need within the HubSpot Marketing Hub to track, build, share our content strategies, because this ain't it.
So I want to double down on what you're saying, Liz, but I have to say that I actually love that tool. I wish that tool would grow. Here's the deal. It goes back to your first thing, that people need more education. People need more education on what it is and how to use it. And the tool needs more flexibility. By the way, if you're listening to the podcast, I'm holding up a book. It's literally called Pillar-Based Marketing. It's by Ryan Brock and Christopher Toff. On page 181 of the book, it actually talks about building your pillar strategy. And so, again, HubSpot Academy, Courtney Sembler, I'm giving you another shout out. Or team, how can we get more micro content, educational value to this tool that is a great idea? And if taught right, can be leveraged, is super powerful, but I just don't think enough. It like got built, and it's like the alternator. People know it's there. They're not sure how it works, and they don't really know if they should be using it every time they start their content car or not. Anyway,
no, I completely agree with you. That's why I said, when we've talked about other stuff in the past, we always talk about how this is the worst it'll ever be, but it's just not improving. Sorry, I think my connection's a little bit quirky right now, but let's move on. George.
You're good.
Yeah.
Talk
I
to
don't
me,
know
Goose.
which one to pick. I have, let's see. Let me look at am I going to have time to get back to my dynamic ads rant? Maybe. But so let me talk about this one. Since we're on a little bit of a content train, I really, really, really would love to have a native ChatGPT integration. For so many different reasons, but let me get very specific on one. I'm sitting at my couch last night. I'm watching the Bills game. I'm sitting there with my wife, but I'm also working on some content that I'm having a lot of fun creating, because I'm excited about this direction of showing up as a whole ass human and putting something to the world that maybe other people might not put to the world. So I'm working on it, and I'm working in ChatGPT. I'm working in Canvas, and I've literally in Canvas applied my H1, my H2s. I've gone through and retyped things and added my own stories. And I've got a piece that's just ready to publish, I've humanized it, because you can do that in Canvas now. It's like a Word doc basically on steroids. And now I got to copy and paste it. And then I got to worry about formatting. And I can format it in Canvas. What I would love is just to be able to, how in blogs you can import Google Doc, and it'll bring the Google Doc into your blog editor. I just want to be able to push a button, and the content that I've created in Canvas, it just magically shows up in my HubSpot blog for me to then use my voice and tone
That
or
would be beautiful.
make other edits or any and again, that's just one piece. Like there are so many, like imagine being able to have all the context and cohesiveness of like ChatGPT projects, but it's like a sales email project that then when you're actually in templates, you're like leveraging that stuff to actually create the narratives that you're anyway. I'll be quiet. ChatGPT native integration for multiple reasons of HubSpot would be a wish list item for me.
I love that. Speaking of ChatGPT, what's next on your list?
There you go. Yes, nice. For me, I think one of the ones that would be really helpful would be, you know how in a workflow you can look up associated objects, right? Well, you only get one result based on required filter criteria. So you can get like the most recently associated or the first created or the most recently updated record. The reason they have to do that is because they can't process loops of data. So what you really need is the ability to process what's called an array in programming land. And an array would be a return result of items. So you have like 5 things. So like 5 contacts related to a deal. And your workflow would do things to all 5 of those return contacts by looping each of the return search values and the properties that it returned. So being able to like fully search the CRM and maybe even to utilize GraphQL, which is often used in like CMS pages, because what you can do is provide like one record ID. So like, let's say I want to get a contact and then find all deals related to that contact and then all emails related to that are outbound. And it's one search request, but it returns this entire structured string of data that you can do things with. And it'd be really cool to be able to drill into many associations deep, like with GraphQL. Again, that's really great for things like web pages to limit the amount of API calls you need to make from somebody's browser. It just gives the data you need to fill the page with one request, right? For each line, maybe. I'm pretty sure that's how like index pages work in HubSpot, where you get the contact and you get all the associated deals and it shows like 18 deals and you click on it, and it shows all the different deals that you can see. Maybe they do something else, but that's like one way you could do it, right? For each record in the page. So being able to, at a technical level, like every time I have to process multiple return search values, it just pushes me out of HubSpot workflows and I can't use it. And then I have to go use some sort of middleware, right? Or custom code, or I have to build it in middleware, test it, and then write custom code to do it after the fact.
So I've got 2 things to say. One is just
wow.
Yeah, we officially hit the nerdy side of the podcast with that.
It only took us 46 minutes.
I love it.
It would have been earlier if I could have.
Super nerdy. But Chad, the things that would unlock, the abilities that people would then have at their fingertips. By the way, I want to shout out to people who might be watching this on LinkedIn after the fact, or if you're watching it right now, put in the chat pane, because again, this could be a massive list in the future. What do you wish HubSpot would build next? Just put it in the chat pane. Let us know. Liz, who's next?
I believe it's Max. So Max, this is our final round. Take us through.
Choose wisely.
The most important ones, the juiciest.
Can I do 2?
Sure. Why not?
Well, one is super quick. I think it would be super neat if you could turn on expenses on any of the object that you want. So imagine if you had like a deal and you want to track how much that deal cost to you as a company. Maybe you took clients out to dinner or sent them a thing in the mail or had to pay a bunch of consulting fees to get something done. Imagine if you had a little card that just looked like line items, right? but it was line item expenses, and it tallied up how much that object has cost you, whether it's a deal, a contact, a company, or whatever. I think that'd be super neat. And if you could just like turn it on by object, that would be cool as hell, and reduce the amount of extra objects you'd have to make just to track something like that.
Yeah, if it was a native thing, it could be added to the QBO sync too, because we use a custom object called bills to represent both bills and expenses that link to our customers' QBO accounts when they're related to the proper contact.
It also gives you net revenue too. The ability to really dial in on that.
It'd be real reporting at that point.
Yeah,
for sure. 100%. 100%. So there's that. I think that would be super neat.
Wow.
And I have floated that idea to Jeff Vincent a while ago. We'll see if it went anywhere. I think the other thing too, that I just think would be so neat is like, and again, I talked about this last week, but dude, being able to do workflows based on associations getting created and running both objects side by side through a single workflow would be crazy, right? So like,
you didn't talk about this last week, so
I didn't.
Please,
okay, all right, okay.
That I
this
remember.
is going to sound insane, right? And maybe this doesn't work for some reason, but so when any association gets created in HubSpot, right, in the back end, there is an object for that association, right? There's a junction object. Okay. So there is an object for an association, right? And that association is tying one object to another object of a different type, right? So that exists independently as its own thing, right? What I would love to see is a workflow that you can create that says, if, for example, you'd say, all right, whenever a contact is associated to a deal, or something like that, right? Or whenever a company is associated to a ticket with this specific association label, whatever it may be, right? I would love to basically have, and like maybe this breaks for some fundamental reason, I don't know, but I would love to have a dual workflow canvas where one object is on one side and the other object is on the other side, right? So the two objects that get enrolled are the ones that were joined together by that association. And then I'd love for you to be able to do different things to those objects when that association is created, right? Such as like copying information over or whatever it may be. Because like, sure, you can like, it's just like triggering workflows when associations happen is really annoying, right? You have to like, what do you have to do? You have to like have a calculated field that counts how many associated objects of a certain type there are, and then re-enroll every time the number changes. And like,
what you could do this, you could get a private app and then add association changed and then do a webhook.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
But you can do a webhook into a workflow.
Sure. But this is the exact reason why we need something like this. Because as soon as you say you could build a private app, that's when it's like, oh shit, it should be a feature. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as I hear private app, I'm like,
Tell us how you really feel, George.
oh God. Hey, I said this earlier. Any place where it feels like it's difficult, and I mean difficult for normal humans, not for Giga Chad or like ultra nerd, that's out there listening or watching this at a later date, but like normal humans. Like we gotta. Okay.
Well, my last one's pretty simple. I'm ready for V2 of the voice and tone tools inside Content Hub.
Bro.
I'm ready for more education around how to build brand voice and tone. I'm ready for that, because like that to me is where there's some really powerful value add for customers in HubSpot who are creating content. Like that's what I want. I want us to go bigger. I want us to have actual conversations about brand voice and tone. And I know the community is hungry for it, because I gave a talk at Inbound a few years ago before any of this. It was just a twinkle in someone's eye, right?
Yep.
It was standing room only. They had to move me to a bigger room. to have my talk about brand voice and tone. Like, people are hungry to do this, but the scholarship out there is pretty lightweight. I know that HubSpot has an article that's a how to do brand voice, but it's still kind of confusing. What's the difference between voice and tone? Because there is an actual difference between those two components. Like, let's get the education going. Let's get the tool more robust, because the more we can empower people to create content that is indeed human, the better off we're all going to be. So that's my last one. George, I believe you had a rant for us lingering there somewhere in the wings.
It's not a rant. It's a listen. So I was having a conversation with my buddy Chris Carolyn, and he sent over a video where he was like, and he was excited, and I was too. It's a video where it's showing how you can now import podcasts into HubSpot Podcast, into the Content Hub, and from other platforms. So like Anchor, Libsyn, wherever, but you can now bring it in and it can live in HubSpot. And I wasn't meaning to be a dick. I wasn't.
Did you tip over his fun cereal?
I wasn't meaning to be, but my comment to it, and by the way, I go back to that. I was fully excited about the fact that you could do this, because that means we're getting to a place where your shows should actually live in there because of all the things that we've talked about, smart content based on a CRM and the workflows and all. The words out my mouth were, and if only we could have dynamic ads. Because see, that's one of the things that I love about transistor.fm is you can have dynamic ads that you can place over your entire podcast library. So now when you think about being a content creator who actually is trying to get sponsors for their show, if that's your type of thing, Max mentioned YouTubers earlier in the show. Like, if you're a YouTuber and you've got a podcast and you're trying to do sponsorships or brand deals, well, being able to say, hey, I'm going to put your ad over my entire library for the next 1 to 3 months is a bigger price tag than saying I'm going to physically inject a audio ad to everything that I edit for the next month, and this is what it costs. Now, all of a sudden, you can have almost unlimited ad space and almost unlimited ad turnaround off of 50, 100, 300, 1,000 episodes. And if I can come to say to somebody, I'm going to put your ad on our podcast for 3 months over 1,000 episodes, cha-ching, I need a cha-ching sound, dang got it. Yes, great. Let me import it, but please know that I probably won't import ours, until we can actually do dynamic ads on the actual platform. And again, I say this because HubSpot, you have a podcast network. The amount of people that could use this feature if they were hosted on your podcast solution, and the amount of dynamic ads that you could run for the people that you're selling to for your podcast network, which we're not on, by the way.
That's sketch.
I digress. Sorry.
You're right, George. This wasn't a rant at all. Silly me.
I love you, HubSpot. Anyway.
Well, I don't know if I can give you a rant today. But maybe next week.
That's fine.
But what I can give you is one more thing that I think would be technically cool. One thing you can do right now is add a CSV to a data source in data sets and join that CSV based on like matching property values, essentially, to create associations within the data table so that you can create reports with some sort of external data. But that needs to go to the next level and be real time, not like necessarily only with Google Sheets, although that would be one way to do it. But being able to add some sort of external data table to your HubSpot data set so that while you're not keeping like a custom object that represents whatever that data table is in HubSpot, it can still see into it in your reports in real time. Like maybe you don't need to see it at the record level, but you need to compare where your accounting software keeps expenses, right? Again, you're talking about expenses as lines and putting it in the deal to make it easy for the rep. Well, at minimum, being able to look at all of the expenses joined on the customer ID or the deal ID, and you'll be able to find all the expenses that are related to that kind of like deal in your QuickBooks instance, for example, right? And to be able to like have all of that data and have it updated more or less in real time, or at least at the reports real time, which is like every 15 minutes. And be able to like create those joins and create custom properties at the report level, but not at the record level based on those external things. Because having to like export a spreadsheet and upload it, again, I know it's the worst it'll ever be. And I know that's probably where they're headed with it. But that will unlock a lot of advanced reporting for some of the more enterprise-sized clients.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah. Magic. I tell
Magical.
you.
It'll be automagical.
George, we've covered so much ground today across. Probably this is one of our most diverse topic episodes that we've ever had. So I know I ask you this question at the end of every single episode. So this one is going to be a challenge. But apparently, according to Max, all of us could probably stand to be a little bit more challenged, right? What is the one thing you want folks to take away from today's episode if they remember nothing else?
Well, I'll go last.
No, George, you're the one landing the plane. It was a question to you.
Okay.
We already established we can't land planes.
Yeah, that's true.
You left us once and we didn't know how to end the podcast.
That's
so.
It was something.
And then there was this other time, and I wasn't there, and there were snacks involved. Anyway, so here's
the snacks episode was iconic. Croutons for life, my guy.
There you go. What kind of croutons were they, Max?
Chatham Village garlic butter croutons.
And I had rosemary croutons from Trader Joe's.
Which, by the way,
I was in the chat back then.
Croutons are very crunchy.
Yes, they
in
are.
A mic. I'm just
delicious.
Throw that out there. But here's the takeaway. Let's land the plane. It's okay to dream. It's okay to wish. It's okay. Max is like, really? This is where we're going? Yes, this is where we're going. Like
Reading Rainbow.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Never stop, never stopping.
No. Hey, this is why I'm saying this. I was on a call. I'm on many calls, but I was on a call and I said, hey, that's a great idea. Did you go over to ideas.hubspot.com? And she was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's bullcrap. And I go, what do you mean it's bullcrap?
You're bullcrap.
And she said, well, I come from this other ecosystem, and it was like hollering into a cave that nobody ever paid attention to. And I said, oh, you're in a different ecosystem. Because trust me, when you're part of HubSpot, if you go to ideas.hubspot.com and you put an ID in there, people are going to vote it up. And I've seen many, many things over the years become actually part of the platform because it was an idea on ideas.com. The change in her face, the glimmer in her eye, the understanding that she was in an ecosystem where people actually listened, like it just was a visceral response. And so this is why I'm saying you're in the HubSpot ecosystem. You're in the inbound ecosystem. It's okay to dream. It's okay to wish. Put what you wish HubSpot would do in the chat pane of the LinkedIn Live. Hit us up on socials if you're listening to this on the podcast app of your choice. Let us know. And dang on it. Any of these ideas or ideas you have, and go to ideas.com or ideas.hubspot.com and submit them. Dream. Help them build something that's amazing with all the things that we've talked about and that you dream about every single day. Okay, Hub Heroes, we've reached the end of another episode. Will Lord Lack continue to loom over the community, or will we be able to defeat him in the next episode of the Hub Heroes Podcast? Make sure you tune in and find out in the next episode. Make sure you head over to thehubheroes.com to get the latest episodes and become part of the League of Heroes. FYI, if you're part of the League of Heroes, you'll get the show notes right in your inbox, and they come with some some hidden power-up potential as well. Make sure you share this podcast with a friend, leave a review if you like what you're listening to, and use the hashtag HubHeroes Podcast on any of the socials and let us know what strategy conversation you'd like to listen into next. Until next time, when we meet and combine our forces, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble human, and of course, always be looking for a way to be